How many of you have that feeling? Look at that. Look at that. Disgusts me. I know it disgusts you too, and it definitely disgusts Josh, so this is videos for him and all of you. Sorry Josh, you get some right do on here, don't you? Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk today about how we can start to hit this driver a little bit straighter. Okay, there's going to be 3 stages to this. Number 1, it's going to be to understand how and what we need to do to control face and path. Then we're going to get into how we can set up to the golf ball, and just understand is how we can actually pick a shot which actually will help us hit it a little bit straighter. Because I think some of us just stood there hoping something's going to come out. So 3 elements: understanding face and path conditions, understanding how we set up to the golf ball, and the final nugget of information is actually being over the shot with a certain intention to our target. Okay, so let's start off with the first stage, understanding face and path. So if you come in a little bit closer here, we're going to put some alignment sticks on the ground. Okay, so what I want you to understand is we're going to use this just in a 2D model, that if our golf ball sat here, we've got one thing. Number 1, we've got our target, which will be straight down just to the screen here. We've then got our club path, which is going to be our yellow, and for that shot that I just hit there, roughly about 30-yard slice, our club path would be somewhere to the left of target. Our face would be somewhere to the right of our target. And the golf ball will always start in between where we swing, where our face is pointing, and always closer to where our face is pointing the ball will start. Now, if you can imagine this, our golf club is working like this across the ball. Now, I explain this like if I was going to kick the football. Outside of the foot, top corner, top bins. That was how that would work. Josh looking at me like, what you doing, mate? If you swip this over now, if we now make club path red and face yellow, that would be something more like this. That'd be more of our draw. So that is actually working into all these stages right now, learning to understand what our face and path conditions are and how do we control it. So far too many of us are working it this way, getting too much slice, too much curve. Let's now get into how we set up to the golf ball, and just a little points on making sure our grip's good, making sure our stance, our posture's good, and making sure our body alignment's perfect to target can really help us control how straight our drive goes. Josh has come up with a great idea. First one's Roberto Carlos. Second one's David Beck, bend it like Beckham. So comment down below actually, who is your favourite footballer? Roberto Carlos or David Beckham? Or if it's none of them, you can even count. Can Beckham still be a footballer?
Yeah.
It's great, isn't he?
I mean, I'm blue, but...
He can be a footballer, can't he? But he's retired.
He can still play.
Anyway, actually, did you see actually, someone commented about the eggs. Sunny side up, you know, when we were doing it in the kitchen, the filming. Yeah. Somebody commented about the eggs. How'd you have your eggs? Sunny side up. I'm the same. Okay, so let's get into this. We're getting off topic here. We're talking about football and eggs. Oh, that's smooth. That's definitely not football. Let's talk about, like, these are not just for show, okay? I want you to put these down on the ground, and especially if you're at the range, you can use these all the time. So one down for our feet, and what I tend to do is, and I think a lot of people go wrong sometimes, is they sort of want to hit across the bay. I always want you to go in the direction the bay is going. Now, some people might argue that's too easy, but if it makes you feel better about your game and you get a good alignment to that target every time, then why not do it? So, feet line, I tend to use this line on the mat here. Then we've got ball position. Have these lines both down on the ground. So, I want you to feel as though we've got ball position inside our left heel, and we've got a stance just on shoulder width apart. Let's revert this back a stage now. So I mentioned about Roberto Carlos, outside the foot, slicey, okay? So a little checkpoint, I want you to make sure we've got the grip in our fingers. So toe up on the golf club, hand towards the camera, fingers down, fingers on, club down in front. 2.5 knuckles in our left hand, crease into our right shoulder. Blend it together. It's important that we've got a good hold and the club feels light in our hands, okay? That's really important, the club feels light in our hands. I then want you to realise, because this golf club is up in our arc, going around the corner, because it's up in our stance, it's close towards our left foot, that our shoulders could potentially get a little bit open. So what I mean by this is, imagine our ball was back in our stance, excessively over here, my shoulders would point very much to the right of target. Excessively up in our stance, would point very much to the left of target. So we've got to understand is, we want to feel as though we pull that right shoulder back and in. Now I'm going to give you a great routine that I want you to stick to on the range, and that you can use on the golf course, because I think that's a really important thing, something you can take to the range and the course. Now, if I'm hitting driver down at the driving range, I will tend to step off the mat, tee one up, hit it away. Think about it, it's a lot of effort. We wouldn't stand there, machine gun fire, then boof, boof, boof. We need to work through a routine. So I stand there, pick out my target. I know I've already got this down on the ground. Pick out my target, pick out my stance. Right shoulder down, right shoulder back. Hold that position, I'm already into that position. Feet together, left out, right. So straight away, I'm into that perfect setup routine. And if by magic, it's gonna look like I've done that on purpose, that is just hit really nicely. A little bit different, just purely for understanding, face and path control, guaranteed. Every single time. So you can see that. Let's show you that routine again. So I pick out my target, right down, right in, walk it in there, keeping eyes towards target, feet together, left out, right, and in. Shoulders, hips, knees, and feet are all parallel. We haven't got them conflicting and against each other. Let's get into the final one about having a real clear directive towards a shot. The final stage. You need to use another alignment stick. So please invest. I think they're really good for your golf game. One thing I'm going to say right now is, if you're brand new to Untitled Golf, well, it's a warm welcome to the channel. We're nearly done this video now, and I think this is the point which brings this whole thing together. We know we like to bring it all together and give you a nice finishing thing to go away with. If you've not already, I would really appreciate it if you hit that big red subscribe button. That's that one down there. You know the drill, you know the score. Okay. Straight down your ball to target line, I'm going to place an alignment stick into the ground. Now, it's going to sound like I'm conflict of interest here. I said to you at the start of the video, we want to feel as though we can hit dead straight drives. Well, obviously, that would be lovely, but I actually think it's one of the hardest things to do. Okay, you're thinking, oh bloody hell, he's lied to me through this whole video. No, what I'm trying to say is we don't want to have excessive curve on all our drives. So whether that's massively right to left, if that's massively left to right, we want to reduce that definitely, unless we're on a dog leg and the shot requires it. So what I want you to imagine is, if you're a little bit of a fader of the golf ball, we're taking the left paintwork off the alignment stick, or hooker of the golf ball, or drawer I should say, take the right paintwork off. For a right-handed golfer, the opposite for a left. Whereas too many people are taking it well wide and bringing it in, or well wide and bringing it in. So what I would say to you is, using all of these methods, if you're a slicer of the golf ball with too much curve that way, then we want to try and feel that's a little bit of a draw to reduce that slice. If we're a hooker, we want to feel a little bit of a fade to reduce that slice. So if you are a slicer of the golf ball, I would really picture trying to take off the right paintwork, and possibly that's just going to take off the left paintwork, because we're going to move what feels like we're swinging over here, going to feel like we're swinging over here to bring it into this middle ground. Okay, nice simple way of doing this. So I'm a fade of the golf ball to get me back neutral, stand behind it, alignment stick directly down my ball to target line. I want to take it up that right wing. Just like that. And that helps me find that neutral middle ground between old and new. So there you go, the 3 stages hitting straight drives.